You're listening to the MewX podcast. Today's song in question is a special song for many Frengers. Here are the thoughts of some people you may recognize from earlier episodes of the podcast: Becky, Diana, and Heather.
I mean, I just remember when I heard it that I was like, I wish this was the song that he wanted me to sing on. I like that one so much better.
I've always associated with like the end of the live shows, because every time I've been to one, that's the last song, and it's kind of sad, like bittersweet. That always has created that feeling in me of like a goodbye song.
Comforting Sounds is just absolutely a magnificent, beautiful piece. There's really no other songs like it that I think I've ever heard. The fact that there's so much of the instrumental at the end of the song really lets you sit and vibe with it and let it resonate with you. So it's not just lyrics that are feeding you, that are kind of manipulating what you feel, what you think the song means. I think it's a really relatable song. It's something that we can all identify with. I don't feel all right in spite of the comforting sounds you make. Like, it's, how many times have we been, comforted by a loved one, and it's just like nothing anyone can say, nothing anyone can do can make this pain go away. That's such a worldwide felt emotion.
Comforting Sounds is track number 8 on Mew's second studio album, Half the World Is Watching Me, released in the year 2000. Mew produced the song, while Flemming Rasmussen and Morten Sedinius are credited as co-producers on the album. A newer version of the song is track number 10 on the follow-up album, Frengers, from 2003. This album was produced by Rich Costey. Both versions were recorded at Sweet Silent Studios in Copenhagen. Nick Watts plays the synthesizers, while Bo Rande plays the trumpet. Comforting Sounds was the first single released from Frengers in 2003. Then I Run is the B-side on the UK release of the single, and a different version also contains City Voices. Coffee Break is the B-side on the 7-inch vinyl single, also released in the UK. An enhanced CD single was released containing a radio edit of Comforting Sounds, a new version of Wherever, Pink Monster, as well as the music video for Comforting Sounds. Comforting Sounds is track number 15 on the compilation album Eggs Are Funny. It's also track number 8 on the live album Mew with Copenhagen Philharmonic. In the Great Frengers Survey, where all Frengers voted for their favorite tracks of Mew, the early version, that is the Half of the World Is Watching Me version of Comforting Sounds, came in at number 20. Whilst, ladies and gentlemen, the Frengers version is number 1.
Nobody is gained or accomplished anything.
Oh my god, I actually have to read that? Okay, I just realized this says, welcome to the last episode of the MewX podcast. And it's been a while, and we've made a lot of podcasts at this point, and I've spent years thinking we probably won't get there. We're sort of postponing the biggest song to a point we'll never get to, but here we are, and we've been joined by our very special guest and lead singer of Mew, Jonas Bjerre. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is probably not going to be a regular episode, I feel like. We might break form a little bit. I think we've had the talks for quite a while about how to do this episode, because it is kind of the grand finale in many ways, more ways than one. One thing is we've done a wee podcast here, and it's coming to an end because we've covered every song in the catalogue. Another thing is, Jonas, you have announced your, I guess, do we call it a retirement from you, or is retirement too final?
Retirement makes me sound very old. I think
I realized that as I say it.
my departure, I guess, really. Yeah.
That's a better word, yeah. Departure.
Wow.
So I guess that's the theme of this episode is the great finale and farewell and au revoir and
Adieu.
however, I'm butchering French. I've with the same, yeah. I've been thinking way too hard about how to open this because it is kind of a melancholic feeling that like the sort of ending, bittersweet ending, and you always want to make it a big, spectacular thing, but at the same time, it's also just it's the end. So I don't know, guys, how you're feeling about it. I guess Jonas will get into your feelings about leaving and your time with Mew and such.
Well, first of all, I want to say it's not necessarily the end of Mew. It's the end of Mew, me.
Yeah.
So there might be more songs for you to cover in the future, but
yeah, that's
just
the thing. If that's the case, then obviously we'll have to consider doing a comeback, I guess.
Of course.
We'll see how that pans out. Yeah, it will be interesting to hear. Even though it would be strange having Mew without you, we have to admit. But I mean, if it's going to be Johan, Silas, maybe Mats and Nick still with a new singer, that will be very interesting to hear what it will sound like.
Definitely. For me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. Yeah.
I guess other acts have done it, so it's not impossible.
Sure.
It's just, I guess, as long-time fans, it's gonna feel weird. Of course it is.
Yeah.
I guess when other bands do it, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, why not? And now we get to be the fans that feel the impact of it. And but reality is, we still have 30 years of Mew with Jonas that we can always go back and listen to, I guess.
Right. It's not erased from time.
Exactly. That's a good thing, that we can still listen to the songs whenever you want to. So that's a big comfort, I think, for all of us.
So, Jonas, you're saying your final farewell?
Yeah.
Departure from you? Let's start there. Like, what was the... Can you maybe just start by repeating your official statements that you opened with? And,
well, I mean, first of all, I want to say there's absolutely no animosity in the band. We get along great, and obviously, people have been upset and about my decision, and I've also been upset about it myself. But it has been sort of a long time coming. I feel like I was, during COVID. All our tours pretty much got canceled, and then some of them we were able to do later on. But in that time, I started focusing more on scoring, and I just I was just hesitant to get back into it. I could feel like I wasn't really prepared to do it right away when we were able to, and then we did start writing a little bit. But eventually I just came to the realization that I wanted to focus on other things now, and it's been 30 years next year. It seems like a pretty big amount of years to have had this, and it's always been sort of my main thing. And I've obviously been able to do other stuff on the side, but it's always been sort of the main thing. And there's stuff I want to do that I really want to get into animation in a bigger way than I had before, and also keep making music in other ways. But it just it felt and still feels like the right decision.
Obviously, this isn't a decision that you decide on a whim, right? This is definitely something that you've that's been brewing for a number of years, as you said, and so I think it's also sort of for us as fans, it's also like, yeah, we know you're still going to be around making stuff, making music, making animations, all that stuff. So we're going to follow your career still. And so that's going to be interesting. So, okay, I don't know, can you tell us a bit about future plans do you have, or is it all under wrap still?
Well, I mean, I'm working on an animation project. That's sort of my main thing right now, but I can't really say that much about it yet.
That's exciting.
I'm also working on a soundtrack right now for a movie. Also, I can't really say much about that. But I really enjoy. I always enjoyed the sort of creative process of doing everything. Like when I'm working on music or animation or painting or drawing, anything like that, is, when I do that, I have no need to look at my phone. I'm just in flow, and that's what feels good. And being out performing is not that. That's a different thing. That's a different thing from working creatively on something. It's more like a presentation of what you created. So, to me, that was always very different, and I love that too. But it's just a different thing. I kind of have come to a point in my life where I want to focus more on the other thing, than the performance part.
Okay, so you have a few shows coming up that will be the final shows of you in Mew.
Yes.
Do you think have you thought of how you're gonna feel when you play Comforting Sounds for the last time and walk off stage? Do you think
it's probably gonna be quite? It's probably gonna be a hard one, definitely. But
because I can imagine that. I'm sure for musicians playing on stage and getting that response from the audience, that must be almost like a drug. Like to get the response, get all that love from the crowd. Do you think you'll miss that part? Sure
I will. It is saying goodbye to a huge part of my life, and that's was not an easy decision to make. So definitely I will. But I think it's kind of, at least for me, I mean, it feels like a healthy thing to make space for something new, like in a bigger way than I have before.
Yeah.
And that song in particular, it's probably the most vulnerable song Mew ever made. Like, it's the most sort of exposed, heart-wrenching song. So that's going to be...
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of tears that night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I still remember going to a Glasgow show. This is probably in 15. It's probably been the plus minus
King Tut's or ABC?
Was it ABC, I think?
Probably.
I can't remember. I think it's the one in the center of town.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I remember coming to the end of the show, and we're standing there in the middle of the crowd watching the stage, and suddenly from the back, this very Glaswegian guy, so Glaswegians have a look, and this particular Glaswegian, has the Glaswegian look. He comes up, thick Scottish accent, Glaswegian accent, and he's like basically tears in his eye, like shouting, "This is the best music that's ever been written," sort of. Obviously, that's not how he said it, but that was the gist of it. And, just saying it to the guy next to him, which was me, and like that one really stands out to me. Like, wow, okay. I had not expected that sort of reaction from that type of guy. For anyone who's unfamiliar, probably like, don't know what I'm talking about. But I think at least Kier, you might have an idea what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... there's something about this song that sort of reaches beyond.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had the same experience when I saw you guys in LA in 2015. And just how diverse a Mew crowd actually is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, when you see them in Norway and Denmark, it's more like just this sort of it's diverse there as well, but not, when you see them around the world, you see like, wow, I didn't expect you to be a Mew fan, like, and it's great, yeah. So,
I imagine he had been in the bar all show, and now for this song, he had to get up front and he had to spill his guts. And we were ready to sort of get, okay, where's the exit? There's a lot of people here. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a good show. Plus minus, that's stuck in my mind also because I spent 3 years in Glasgow at that point, and you released Plus Minus right after 9 years, so it felt like a big thing, especially at the time, and getting to go with some friends in Scotland and such.
Yeah.
But also, you had a Scottish manager, right? Or
yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you still do. Yeah.
No. Alan McGee. No, yes, that's many years ago now. But yeah, he was the guy who he expressed an interest in managing us after I think some of the people I think Sony bought Creation back in the day. Like they kind of he started Creation Records, and so he knew some of those Sony guys, and they sent him I think just our demo, and he was like, I'd like to meet those guys, and so we met him. It was hard in the beginning. I couldn't understand a word he said, but yeah. But he managed us for a number of years. Him and his partner, Stephen King, not the writer, another different Stephen King.
Right.
Is that why you're familiar with the specific venues in Glasgow, or do you just memorize every venue?
I just remember those two venues, King Tut's and ABC. I don't know if we ever played anywhere else, but we probably did. But not that I remember.
There's the O2, and then there's the...
Oh, yeah. Maybe we did play the O2 as a support for someone or something, maybe. That's probably...
Yeah, that was... I never went to that one. It was a fairly small venue. I remember always walking by it when I had to go to work and back, because it was like in the middle of nowhere, essentially. Right. And then obviously the big arena stage. Yeah, that's besides the point.
Yeah.
That was my time in Glasgow. So, what's your thoughts? Like, you're now about to look back on 30 years of Mew, and like, what's been the biggest takeaways, and what's the things that's going to stick with you for the next many years?
30 years, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, if I live that long. But yeah, I think I'm proud of what we've accomplished together, and I'm proud that we've been able to stay a band for that long, really, you know. I remember being in a hotel like around 2015, and just suddenly I woke up and I just had this epiphany, kind of like for the first time I realized really how lucky I really was to be able to do this, you know, to have this band and be a part of that. And I think when I was younger, I was a lot more anxious, you know, so there was a lot of, you know, being a performer is sometimes it feels like a lot of pressure, you know, you have to sort of live up to people's expectations. And that part was harder for me when I was younger. So that was kind of a lot of what I focused on. And, you know, as I got a bit older, I that changed for me, and I became more sort of able to really appreciate it, I think. So yeah, and I'll always carry that with me like that. I've had so many amazing experiences, writing the music, performing it, all the traveling, meeting people, having the responses we've had. You know, it's been quite a journey. It's such a cliche to say, but it really has. What's your favorite fan moment? Do you have any that you like stick out in your mind?
This one right here, right?
Some of the early ones were really, really immense. Like hearing our song on the radio for the first time. That was a crazy feeling, you know. And obviously, some of the first shows I do remember, especially. It was weird, because we lived in London. We'd finished this Frangers album. And at that point in Denmark, we were just kind of like an indie underground thing. You know, we got good reviews, but not many people bought our records. And then we came back and had this record, and then played a TV show where we did Snow Brigade. and then we went away again, and then at some point we were booked to play the Roskilde Festival, and it was just incredible to see how many people knew about us all of a sudden, in our own country. That was a real moment for me as well. I always remember.
Was that the Danish Music Awards you're thinking about?
Yes.
The TV show?
Yes. In 2003,
Yes.
I guess it was.
Yeah, because that's a standout moment, even I think for many people as well, and
Yeah,
that's where you got discovered, I guess.
I guess that's where people were really exposed to us in Denmark.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get
Was
a
that
lot of
before?
airplay for that.
Okay.
That was before the release of the album, yeah. It was, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah, I think it might actually been... Yeah, I think it might have been a couple of months before the album came out. As far as I remember, I might be totally wrong, actually. I'm not sure.
The Snow Brigade was played in the radio, wasn't it? Okay, or P3, something like that.
Was it before we performed it? I'm not sure. Maybe it was. Yeah. I don't remember.
I don't think I was aware of it until that show,
No,
anyway.
no.
So that was the first radio hit for you guys? Was it not the Emma Rhino or?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's been a while.
I think Am I Rye was a single on Half the World at least. And it was a single on Fringes as well. I don't know if it was the first single on Fringes. Or
True.
I think it was also different because in Norway, I remember, in Norway, Snow Brigade was definitely the first single. Because we had a great guy, Kim Poulsen. He now runs his own petroleum label. And he was really, he had a lot of, he was really invested in the band and just loved the band and kind of, I guess, just really knew his territory, like what would work best and how. So we owe him a debt of gratitude, definitely.
Yeah, because I just remember hearing Emma Rhino on the radio, but not really getting into the band until I saw you on TV playing She Came Up for Christmas on a talk show in Norway.
Right.
That was when I, just because I remember a friend of mine were really into you guys, and I was just like, but then when I saw you guys play that, I was like, yes, okay, I'm gonna get into this band, and I got the album for Christmas, and that was the start for me in 2003.
Cool. Was that the TV show with like two comedians hosting?
Yeah. Senkveld. Yeah.
Yeah. Senkveld, that's right.
Yeah. That was, I remember, I don't know if it was because there was some snow effect because it was She Came Up for Christmas. I don't know if it was, if that was in studio, was it post-production or was it,
I'm not sure. I remember we had some like actual fake snow at the Snow Brigade thing. And it was really unpleasant to stand in because it was like blowing into your mouth and it was like, really not.
It looked cool though.
Yeah, it looked cool. But and I remember also one time we had this great guy. It was like our tour manager for a number of years. He always had these ideas. He was like, you can get this sort of fake snow that is kind of just like this foam in the air. And it was at Lillevega, I think. And we played She Came Up for Christmas. And then this machine started doing that. And then everyone in the audience started coughing like crazy. And I couldn't sing. It was like, because apparently it was super toxic. And, you're not supposed to use it inside at all. It's like for movie sets or something like that. Yeah. So, we had a few different kinds of fake snow.
Nice.
Okay.
I think for us Danes who are old enough and teenagers at the time, you also played, I believe it was a full episode of the show Boogie back in 2003.
Right. Yeah.
Where you played multiple songs. Was that in the studio in Aarhus, I think?
I don't know.
I seem to remember they had two studios, one in Aarhus, one in Copenhagen, but I was also a teenager, so I might be totally wrong.
I think they were kind of like stripped down, almost acoustic sessions, right? There was like, it's a very simplistic setup, I think, as I remember.
That explains why it sounds fairly different. We sort of linked a YouTube recording of you performing Comforting Sounds. And
right.
The guitar opening was very different. The way Bo played the guitar there was more like strummy from the opening.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I never really listened to old recordings like that.
No. You don't like to listen to it, or
No, because I'm way too critical of myself.
Okay.
Now, in basically,
yeah,
I'd rather just remember it as being perfect, and then
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't
Oblivious
taint
to
the
reality.
memory.
yeah,
We do the reverse on this show, don't we? It sounds terrible, and somehow you make us sound more
Right. Yeah.
tight.
Yeah, we just have the memory of what we've done, and then when the final product comes out, we're like, "Wow, we're awesome!"
that's good. So you're
I don't know.
positively surprised each time, but that's much better.
Oddfire
That's-
works magic.
Yeah.
It's heavily edited, this podcast. It's always have to I cut out everything that is not supposed to be there. Like, so,
Right.
Yeah, try to clean it up. Yeah,
That one.
That's not going to be in there. Well, maybe now, but
Backdrops. We're kind of on live. We're kind
Yeah.
of talking about live.
Yes.
And obviously backdrops have forever been sort of paired with Mew and the Mew universe, and especially this song where a full orchestra, I want to say, a full orchestra of animals come in
Yeah.
and help you guys out.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we started doing quite early on, like not on Triumph, but on Half the World. And at that point, I was working in post-production, and I started doing animation stuff. That wasn't really part of my job. I didn't really do animation as a job, but I had access to this software and started fiddling around with that. And I think my first sort of like, it was very unusual at that time to use projections. I think one of the first shows I ever saw where they did that was the Flaming Lips. They played at Lille Vega.
Oh.
And at that point they didn't have their drummer with them. So the drummer was just, in most songs, just on the screen playing along. And I thought, that's interesting, like how you can just get away with that. Just put it on, and if you want to use strings and you can't bring in a whole orchestra, maybe you can sort of get around it by putting it on the screen. And I was starting doing animation, and I just visited this toy museum outside of Lisbon on a vacation, and I had taken pictures of all these like weird dolls and stuff. And then I thought, I'll cut them out, like cut out animation. And so that's how I made that. That was one of the first visuals I did, was actually the Comforting Sounds one.
So what you're saying is there's a museum in Lisbon that has these very dolls on display.
It's a little bit outside of Lisbon, yeah. But I don't know if it still exists. I took pictures with I got like this really early digital camera. It's like a Casio, it's like a little credit card. You can take super, super bad quality pictures, but it was good enough for that. So that's what I used. Cool. Yeah. And then the cat was actually my actual cat, the white.
Oh.
It was or should I say my parents' cat, really. So she sadly passed away. But they don't live that long, cats, do they? But yeah.
Wow.
Is that where the name came from? You don't have to answer that.
No, it wasn't really. We all have different memories of how the name came about.
Okay.
Yeah, it had really it had nothing to do with cats, really. I think there's a quote in one of Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic books. There's like a Shakespearean quote. It's like, and the gulls mewed.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'd never seen that verb before. What does that mean? And then I looked it up and I was like, and to mew, it just was a pretty word to me. It's like it had this weird reverse symmetry kind of, and as I remember, I suggested it, and we were at my parents' house, and we were trying to bake a cake, but we got the recipe wrong, so we put too much butter in it. It was disgusting, and and I just on that day I just like, what about this? And I think people were kind of, yeah, that's cool, we like that. And it was like, sort of soon after, like I think Silas had just joined recently. Like I think it was like our second time playing with him. So that's how it came about.
Okay.
And then Pokemon put out, Nintendo put out Pokemon a couple of years later, which was annoying.
Yeah, that's around the time, yeah.
Will say I've come to learn with kids now that are really into Pokemon that Mew is one of them legendary Pokemons, you know.
Oh yeah.
That
Very
can
powerful.
change into any Pokemon apparently.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too. I was familiar, but not too familiar. And then I saw the show recently, and I like, okay. It's not that big of a. I can forgive it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Where I used to be a bit too cool for that. I was like, no.
My daughter was really into Pokemon for a while, but she's not interesting to her. Yeah.
Grown out of it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's too cool for it now.
Have you got stuck with a pile of Pokemon cards yet?
Yeah, no, I have. She has like a whole thing.
I'm worried there's some value there.
Well, you should hang on to it for sure.
Oh yeah,
I guess.
definitely.
Might come back, that interest at some point.
It's more like seeing that monetary value just being like fiddled with by small children. Like, I don't want to know. Yeah, you give it to your friends. That's fine. Anyway.
Yeah, since we're on the live version, should we maybe discuss like a bit of our experiences with seeing the song live? Comforting Sounds, such a big song. It ends almost every Mew show, right?
Yeah.
Things are ending now for us, and it's the last song of the show. Maybe we should like sort of reminisce a bit about our experiences. And do you have any thing that you remember, especially from seeing the song live, that you recall that as a special moment or something?
For me, yeah, I think. My first Mew show was like 2012 Bremen Theatre. Went to the festival the next day, Roskilde. But at the time, I think I was 22 at the time. Didn't know many people from the community or anything like that. Didn't really solo travel ever. Like, I'd go away with family or friends. But I remember Tero got in touch with me about, coming to the festival and everything. And I remember it being a really intimidating and daunting thing, because I was like, going to a festival in a country I've never been to with people I don't know. Don't know how I feel about that, but I thought, I'm just going to take the dive on that one. But when we were at the festivals, when Tero came to us and was like, well, they're playing a show at Bremen as well, the day before, so we should go check that out. But yeah, I do remember that show very vividly. It was really special, and like, I remember Comforting Sounds as well, because Petra, she's like a friend from then, but she's like, I meet her at most shows now, Mew shows. I just remember very vividly like her looking at me just to make sure I was alright when Comforting Sounds played, and she's like, "You having a good time?" I was like, "I'm having a good time, yes, thank you." Yeah, but it was a very special show, and it just kind of culminated. It's a great song. The song always brings emotions, I find, and I think I found the whole thing very emotional in a very lovely way, because I guess it was quite life-changing in a way, because when I think about it, like, I know all these people now. I travel a lot more. And I'm doing this. I see you guys every other week. So it was quite transformative.
That's great.
I should also say, like, for me, the song has been a part of my life for over 20 years now. And I remember seeing my first Mew show was in Oslo, 2005, when you played what's it called? That P3. Like, we played for like 25 people inside a radio studio in Oslo.
Right. Yeah.
And my friend won a ticket, and she brought me with her. And when you played Comforting Sounds, then it was just like a magical moment. I had just become a fan, like maybe a month or two before that. And the nostalgia I feel about this song because of around that time, like when you start playing it, it's like, oh no, it's ending. So kind of bittersweet. Like, the show is ending, no, but it's just like, but it's also the highlight of the show, because it's like the big, majestic ending. And that sort of feeling from back then, when I was in my, I guess, early 20s, and just with the backdrops, and it just feels like a magical time. The whole thing, the that was the Kites tour. So I have so many good memories from it, and I'm definitely gonna miss seeing that song live for sure. I don't know if they're gonna keep playing the song without you. It's gotta be different for everyone.
Yeah,
but
I imagine they will. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys, Anne or Thomas, do you have any stories about seeing Comforting Sounds live?
Yeah, I've got a big one, and I'll try to say it without being super emotional because it's a huge thing. So, the first Mew concert I saw was in 2009 at Neumos in Seattle, and the show ended with Louisa. So I totally did not even know that Comforting Sounds was a thing that was ending shows. I was very fresh to the fandom, and I didn't really know anybody in the fandom, and so I was just like blown away by how emotional I felt just sitting in the car going home, feeling the impact of that song. So when I actually saw it end a concert was only on a recording, so the Live in Copenhagen DVD, and so I was like, oh wow, I feel like I kind of missed out on that. I mean, Louisa is very impactful, but not in the same like grandiose way. And so the very first time that I saw it live was 2014 when I went on that grand tour with Taro everywhere in the Nordic countries, following Mew around. And so it was in Tavastia in Helsinki, where we had that show that was like, 22 song set list or something. It was just enormous. And I had all these years of, having worked on the site, having met people in the community. And I was so nervous because, first of all, I was traveling by myself to get to these countries I'd never been to in my life. And I was meeting all these new people that I had never met in person before. And Taro was kind enough to kind of let me in the back door and let me have this chance to meet the band and everything. And he suggested to me, why don't you spend some time, make something for them so you can give it to them when you meet them. And I was like, yeah, all right. I haven't done any painting in a while. Let's do a painting. And so I spent a few months working on a painting. And so after Comforting Sounds was kind of coming to its close, I was like, oh my God, I have to do this whole thing. And so beforehand, Taro had helped me stash this painting at the bar he worked at. And so we zipped out the back door, ran and got the painting, and then we brought it back to the venue. And they were kind enough to let us back into the venue and everything. And so I'm standing there, I'm sweating bullets. I'm I can't even look at anybody. I'm staring at the floor. I'm I've never been this nervous in my entire life. And then I don't remember. I think it might have been Nick that let us back in the back of the stage. And and then I was able to present this painting that I'd worked on for so many months, and I was freaking out, and I was just trying not to lose it. But, I just remember everyone was so kind and so generous and so welcoming. And it was one of the most wonderful experiences I'd ever had. And Taro also recorded the presentation of this painting. So I have this beautiful memory that I can look back on too. And I was just so overwhelmed with emotion, and people were just surrounding me the whole time I was there. And I just felt so loved and comforted and held, just being part of the community. And that had all come at a time in my life where, I had recently divorced from my husband, and I just needed something to kind of, boost me up in life and just find some kind of a meaning in a very dark time. And it was everything that I needed at the time to just find beauty in the world again. And so just being able to kind of give back a little bit to you, Jonas, and the band in general for all of the emotional support the music had given me during that such a dark time in my life. So I am so grateful for having that opportunity. So I always associate Comforting Sounds with kind of the intro into this whole being part of something bigger than myself, which was really, really just a huge part of my life for the last few years. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you, Jonas. Thank you for making such beautiful music.
Thank you, and thank you for the painting. It's a beautiful painting, and I can tell it's. I've never really painted until recently. I started like actual painting, big canvas stuff, and I know how much work goes into that. It's crazy. So thank you so much for that. I don't have it hanging because I did have it hanging at one point where my daughter was kind of scared of it when she was small, the Cerberus thing. Yeah. So I took it down, but I have it in my apartment. So, and thank you so much for that.
Oh, I'm so glad, Jonas. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it is a bit scary.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, with the snakes, right?
Like every band member has a different sort of animal features to it, and like it's all on the body of a tortoise that kind of like mimics the shape of the Evil Office logo, and like it's crazy.
Right, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Right, Thomas.
I guess that leaves me. Yeah, I can't top that. Yeah. For me, it's for my first Muse show goes back to 2009, and that was the, what did you call it? The Secret Showcase. This was it was on the 15th of June. I'll let you know. Or the tickets were on sale on the 15th of June. Something like that. It was
in Amager somewhere, I think, right?
Yes. I was living in my first flat with my girlfriend at the time, first since moving out from home. And I lived at Kretavej, which is also out on Amager. And I was really getting into you guys at the time. I think I don't really do, idols. I didn't do it at that time. I didn't have a favorite band and all that stuff at the time. And I was kind of coming around to the fact that like, I'm a little bit weirdly obsessed with Mew right now because there seems to be something coming, but it's not really released and no one really knows when. And at that time, my interest in like searching Google, trying to find anything, finding little snippets of interviews and such has sort of been my life. And then suddenly I find it on this MewX website that, there's a show and it's essentially in my backyard at that time. I have to go. And I found someone who was selling a ticket, I think from Finland or something. And I remember just DMing. I don't remember what site, if it was actually on the MewX or the Mew forum or where it was. I remember just texting this random person on the internet. They were like, cool, you want to buy it? I'll send it to you right away on an email and I'll trust you transfer the money internationally. And I'm like, okay. Great. So suddenly I'm sitting there with the ticket, which cost 156 kroner, plus tax or plus whatever fee was on top. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the day before.
Yeah, I think it was
something like that. So that was my first Mew show, and it's always stood out to me not just because it was the first one, but because it was such a small show compared to all the rest. It was that your like live practice studio, or what was that?
Well, I mean, we did sort of pre-production there, but it's become sort of a common thing for bands to play like a little secret show, just because if you play some great big venue, it can be a little daunting. Just go like, this is even you can rehearse all you want, but it's different when you're in front of a live audience. You always realize a few things. It's like, maybe we should do this and this. It's just good to have that under your skin when you go do the big one.
Yeah.
So that was
the wild thing. Was I was standing in the queue. I was standing in the queue outside the big box there, and as I'm standing there, I get the call from a friend who was like, basically offers me an opportunity to go to Roskilde that year, which also wasn't in the plans. So I got to see first your little show here, and then I guess about a week later in Arena, I got to see your show there, and like the contrast between, because it was the exact same set as I remember it, and you premiered a lot of the new stories songs. So that memory always stands out to me, that within a week, pretty much, I got to see you both in the probably most small, intimate setting I could imagine, and then all the way to probably one of the biggest venues you could play in Denmark. So yeah, that's kind of my standout moment.
Was the guy who sold you the ticket Taro by chance? Because that would be really funny.
Yeah. What if?
I don't know. I don't think I could even find these DMs. I'm not sure this. I honestly don't remember. I just remember thinking and saying out loud, like, I was just sent a ticket. I'm supposed to send some money now, so I guess I'll go do that just in case. You never know. Yeah, maybe. I'll have to ask Taro. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
That brings up an interesting point about the community. Is like, it's so easy to just trust people. Like I when I go to these other countries, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know any of these people, but people just welcome you, and they like take care of you. They take care of each other, and so like I never had a problem where I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I just kind of jump in and go for it, and just trust that people are going to be awesome, and they always are. And I think that's really, really rare in a community where you get people from all walks of life and people with many different experiences. You just don't really, like in this day and age, you don't trust people just by default. But I always felt like I could trust people here. And that's really, I think that's a unique quality. And you really don't see that very often.
True.
I want to go back to these early shows, because that didn't have a lot to do with comforting sounds. And this next one kind of doesn't, but that's why I'm asking, Jonas.
Yeah.
In 2010, you're sort of wrapping up the whole tour at that time, and you you do a show in the Opera House.
Right. Yes.
And this show is ended not with comforting sounds. And I remember walking away from the venue and like everyone feeling like, what the hell happened there? And now I'm asking you, like, what happened there, Jonas?
Well, actually, we did two shows in one day. We did like a marquee show where we did end with comforting sounds, and then on the same night we did practically the same show. I think it's slightly different set list, but then as we were getting ready to play comforting sounds, the whole stage started rotating, and out came the Lords of Destruction doing the song. And people had no idea what was going on. It was so confusing for everyone. And we actually got complaints from people. There were people demanding their money back because we didn't play comforting sound. So that was a little bit, that's just
crazy.
Can't not play that song apparently. That was
but I have to say it takes some real balls to even try and do that, but I thought it was really cool. It was like grade A trolling in some ways, but it was also but it was really funny as well. I wasn't there myself. I wish I was, but I've seen the video of it, and it looks really cool. I just imagine all the minds being blown seeing that when the stage just turned around and what is this?
Yeah, that was fun. We also one time we played in Wolverhampton one time where we were sort of like, I think we'd been on tour for quite a while at that point, and then I think Bo just said like, let's do it in reverse tonight. And I was like, how do you mean? Like, let's reverse the set list. So we start with comforting sounds. Actually, we start with saying good night. You've been great, and then we play comforting sounds, and we did all of that, and it was very silly, but it was fun. So we start with comforting sounds.
I love that. Cool. And there's a random place to do it in Wolverhampton.
It was great. We toured a lot in the UK, all of those cities.
Yeah.
How did you flip 156 and MRI now in the set?
That's a good question. We probably did play them in the. I don't know actually. Maybe I can't remember. We probably played them after each other as normal, but
yeah.
I remember the nerd in me sitting in the opera. Like, that was a thing that I noticed, that whenever Jonas picks up the guitar, it's probably Rye that's coming up.
Right.
That was kind of a thing in my head. And I remember you picked up your guitar for the encore and was like, but they've played it already. And then the whole stage flipped, and I'm like, okay, there's something else going on. Like, I remember sticking with that, and I've always thought, like, okay, that is particularly geeky. That's you having seen them too many times in a row, at least, to be able to predict that. Yeah.
It was a really nerdy thing to do.
Yeah.
But
And I stick by it. I stick by it.
yeah. No, for us, I mean, to do that whole thing. That was
okay.
nerdy of us, yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Willfully
When
obtuse.
are they gonna release some of that music, Jonas? Do you, where did they go?
Lord of the Rings,
The Lords of Destruction.
The Lords of Destruction.
They went to
I don't know.
Mordor.
Thrown in the fire.
I haven't spoken to them since that time. So
Okay.
Oh.
They're very
unfortunately,
mysterious.
so I have no idea.
They went to Puerto Rico or something.
Yeah, I think one of them was from there actually.
Yeah. Should we talk about the origins of Comforting Sounds? Because I sent you a clip of that when we talked to Johan. I've heard that you said that that's your favorite song by Mew, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we all know it now. It's this huge epic concert ender that ends every show. But it started with a demo called Comforting Sounds, Do I Look Puerto Rican? Like, when you made the song. So when you made...
That is so
it's,
Mew.
Oh
yes. My God. Comforting Sounds, Do I Look Puerto Rican?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. I mean, so based on that demo alone, it doesn't feel like you knew back then that it's going to be the big song it is today. Obviously, no one would know. It felt like more of a
Can
joke
you
song.
imagine if we had called it "Do I Look Puerto Rican" instead of "Comforting Sounds"?
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. But that is. I mean, no. In all honesty and in all seriousness, I think that is a great way, and it's a great insight to us as a band. Take what you do very seriously, but don't take yourself too serious.
Yeah.
You know, I really go by that in life. You know, in everything I do. That just, you know, make an effort and really take what you do really seriously, but never be too sort of or too serious about yourself. You know, like but you know, you gotta have distance, and you gotta have irony, and you gotta have like self irony or whatever it's called. You know, like, and that is just such a, like, you have this epic monster, and somebody writes, "Do I look Puerto Rican?" It just punctures the whole fucking thing like that. You know, like,
yeah.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So I mean, so back then when you first made that demo, do you remember anything of making that demo, that version of it?
I don't know about the demo, but I remember clearly when we wrote it, which is quite wild because that was a long time ago. But I clearly remember, because, and I think the reason I remember is because I play keyboards, and so Bo had the guitar part, like the boom boom bam boom boom bam, that whole thing. He had kind of worked out like a whole. I think he even might have had the other parts as well. He'd been sitting at home, sort of working out something there, which was clearly quite cool. He had this idea of the guitars sort of speaking to each other and answering each other with the different parts. And I came up with the keyboard parts, the bop, 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 or whatever it goes at, way, the mellotron stuff. And I just remember because I never played keyboards, so that's why I remember we had like an old, I don't know, we might have it still, like an old like vintage whatever analog synth, and I was playing that thing, and then it probably must have been my idea to have the bass come in really loud at the end, you know, because that would have been such a me thing to do, to sort of okay, this has been pretty and nice for too fucking long now, guys. Now we gotta crank it up here, you know. So,
Yeah.
so I think that was probably, without actually remembering, but that would have been a Johan move, I think, to go like, okay, boom, now it comes in. But I don't have a lot of memories that clearly from that old original rehearsal space of like, because we wrote 156 and MRI and Comforting Sounds and a lot of those songs around the same time. And I don't remember writing the other ones as vividly as Comforting Sounds. I just have a real clear memory of writing that keyboard part on top of Bo and Jonas playing guitar, or maybe it was just Bo playing guitar and Jonas was trying to come up with some vocal melody.
That's cool.
In the fight, he just sings "Do I Look Puerto Rican" as a filler lyric.
Yeah,
that's the story we're running with. Just so you know.
Yeah, we actually had a saying in the band for a couple of years where we would go like, "Hello, Costa Rica," and why I have no bloody idea, but it's clearly coming from the same. It's cut from the same cloth there, you know, like.
Yeah,
maybe he was fascinated by South America there for a moment, or I don't know. Yeah,
right.
But
yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
But then, so I mean, the whole epic ending of Comforting Sounds, I guess that was something that came kind of naturally from, I guess, maybe from your keyboard playing in the bass stuff, and it just grew from there. Do you remember how it like became this whole epic thing?
I just think that the chords really lent themselves to being repeated. I don't know. I'm not so technically gifted or so musically gifted that I could explain the exact reason why the chords do like that. But it's a very sort of it's two very gratifying rounds of chord progressions, you know, and I just think that it's the tempo. It's the every chord is like a big release, you know, like every chord change is like, the notes do exactly what you want them to do in a way that they're all very sort of, there's a resolve in pretty much all of the chord changes. So I just guess that we just played it and we just felt that it felt so good that we just wanted it to continue. And if you continue at the same pace or at the same intensity level, it becomes boring quite quickly. So what we had to play with was intensity and dynamics.
Do you agree with his assessment of how it was made?
Pretty much. You know, I laughed a lot when we were talking about the "Do I Look Puerto Rican" part. I guess he didn't remember that, but that was obviously a sort of a gibberish lyric that came about in the first demo because I just had to sing something. I think it was because I had just watched West Side Story recently.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, when I come up with lyrics in the practice space, it's like sometimes it just comes to me. I think I don't feel all right. That was just kind of came in the moment. But then, you know, I usually just sing gibberish. I mean, the sound of words has always transcended, has always transcended actual lyrics for me. Like the feeling of the, you know, like an instrument doesn't have words, but it still has a story to tell in a way. So that's how I've been working most of the time.
I don't feel alright in spite of these comforting sounds you make. I don't feel alright in spite of
came about, I think, very simply. Bo just had these chords, and playing them. I think on the first recording it was like he wanted me to do the fifths, so he didn't do, and then I had like a little. So we used to do a lot more of that back in the day, like playing like intricate patterns into each other. But he came up with those chords, and then I just started singing, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's beautiful." And then Johan started playing the keyboard, kind of like a mellotron. I think on the first version we actually had a real mellotron to play that on. So, and then at some I can't remember how we decided that it should explode, but then I just went over to we had this Jupiter 4 synthesizer, and I played the stringy sound, and kind of quickly just came up with those notes that the kind of theme is, the string theme. And it has this to me it's like it's a real moment when it goes into the alternate round in the outro, where because the primary round is just like 3 major chords and then a minor chord, and it starts on the same like major A, and then it goes into minor D, which is a very surprising kind of and that kind of takes you aback a little bit when you listen to it. I think that's how that works. Not that it was something we theorized about it, but I think it just has that effect. I think I'd watched something with Fred Astaire, and I was like, I was thinking about we could use like tap dancing percussively in a song. Yeah. And P was like, yeah, that sounds so weird. Let's do it, and we got a guy to do that on the first version, which we tried to accomplish live a couple of times with very mixed results.
2012 in Roskilde. We're going to ask about the tap dancing, but we got
that
we
was
did find a very blurry clip of it.
I have to say, bless him, but that was really Bo was very adamant that I should try that. So I'll do my best. We played at Roskilde show, the smallest stage in Roskilde, I think in the year 2000 maybe, and we wanted to have this. The guy who did the tap dancing, he was actually like a real pro guy, and he wasn't available. So we found this woman who would do tap dancing, and I wasn't at the rehearsal for some reason, but the other guys were, and he's like, yeah, she did okay. And then when we were on stage and she walked on stage, she wore this crazy outfit with like sparkling and like a top hat. And I just remember looking at my left, I was like, my God, what the hell is going on? And she's like, I don't think they didn't really think about, someone should count her in. So she didn't really know when to start. It was like, it's just a complete fiasco, but it was fun.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So the reason why it's not in the French version is because
you don't tap dance.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe at that point we thought it was a bit too silly or something, or I don't know. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We changed our minds about that at some point.
Yeah.
Probably for the best.
Maybe, I don't know. I like it, but I like both versions for different reasons, I guess. Yeah.
It's kind of unexpected, so I think that's why it sounds interesting if you're used to the version without it.
Sure. Yeah.
And let me just say, I realized yesterday that it was tap dancing because Kira told me. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
So, and he told me, I was like, oh yeah, obviously it's tap dancing, yeah.
I can't remember his name, the guy.
I forgot that I'd seen it live.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had ghosts on stage as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't think we had that for the the rehearsal show. Kind of.
No, you didn't know. I don't think was the tap dancing at the pre-rehearsal. I can't remember.
No, probably not either.
No.
And you also had a dancer guy at one point.
That's right, Rico.
For Silas the Magic Car, was it?
Well, we brought this guy on. He was like a breakdancer. We brought him on a whole tour. It was Silas and Bo's idea.
Oh, yeah.
I never really understood what
Okay.
that was about.
We discussed that.
But I was like, okay, it's weird. Yeah, let's do it.
Do you love it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it just for Do You Love It?
No, he danced in every song. I remember doing like a couple Norwegian festivals. Well, almost every song.
Yeah, because I remember because when we just did Do You Love It, and because I had some memory of seeing him dance multiple times.
Yeah,
but then we just thought, was it just for Do You Love It at one show? It was no, it was definitely more than that. I just couldn't find any other.
I think in Palace Players, at least, I remember he did.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. That's a good song to dance to. Yeah, in his style. Yeah, it was really cool. I just love the randomness. He's a great guy. Yeah.
How did he choreograph that?
He just, I don't know. He just
freestyle it.
I think he listened to the music and came up with some moves for each song. Such a bizarre idea, but
dancing to comforting sounds would be interesting.
Yeah, but it's just fun to just change up the show, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So back to comforting sounds in the clip of Johan. He also talks about how the song went on to inspire many other artists.
Comforting sounds almost became this blueprint as to how to do the epic indie song. I mean, there have been a lot of people who have sort of, admitted over the years that they sort of tried to write their own comforting sounds, in terms of the way that it was built, and sort of even like big bands, like, I'm not going to mention any names, but big bands were like, fuck, that was kind of like the blueprint as to how we did this in this song,
yes.
And I think that it's just, I always thought about it as our Stairway to Heaven, in a weird way, because, I mean, even though that Stairway to Heaven is much more complex, really, it's the same kind of model, if you want. Like you have like a long non-rhythmical part of the song, and then like towards the end the drums kick in and everybody goes like fuck, and it becomes really epic and grand in the end. So I guess that was sort of the only song I knew at that point that did that exact thing. So I think back then I would probably have sort of molded it on Stairway to Heaven in a weird way, even though they're quite different. But in sort of the essence is kind of there,
Yeah, I was just thinking now, because you mentioned that other bands have been influenced maybe by that song, and I think a song like "Fix You" by Coldplay is one that probably is influenced. Maybe
could be.
Yeah, I think so. And I also remember there was in Norway there was this commercial on TV. This song that sounded very much like Comforting Sounds.
Yeah,
I think there was a thing where they wanted to use Comforting Sounds, but you didn't let them. I think it was from a betting company or something. I can't remember. It's maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so clear that it was just Comforting Sounds ripoff that they played. And I remember being like a news thing about that. Do you remember that thing?
Yeah. I vaguely. I think I've heard it. I've heard other commercials do it as well. But I think I recall. I think I'm right when I say that one of the other bands was Snow Patrol. You remember that band?
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
I can't remember which song it was, but they definitely, he loved Mew, the guy, the singer guy, and I can't remember which one of their songs it was that he meant, but there was something there. Anyways, I think that's obviously a great, like a great compliment when you can do something, a piece of music that resonates with other musicians and great songwriters, that they feel like, fuck, that's such a cool way to do a song. Maybe we could do something, along those lines ourselves. I think that's great.
It almost feels like throughout the years you've kind of tried to top it, like Louise, Cross the River, Rose, I guess. Carry Me. Like every album kind of has its own attempt or its own variation of it. Is that correct? Or
no. I don't think we've tried to necessarily top it, but I think we just all prefer records that sort of end on like a really sort of big epic song, like or at least if you have a big epic song, usually it works best to stick it at the end of the record, in terms of sort of the overall flow of the record and the feel of it. And I mean, fuck, we ended Plus Minus with the song Rose. No, that's the lie. We ended that with Cross the River.
Depends. Vinyl, CD, switches, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Good. But so those were, I think Rose maybe even more so than Cross the River were meant to be sort of like that sort of big epic out there progressive song,
that song is really epic.
It is. It's quite a handful.
Talks about, was it Snow Patrol? He said, or he mentioned some other.
I can't really speak to that actually. I don't really. I haven't read anything about them mentioning us or that song or anything like that I am aware of. But I guess maybe he read something about that.
But it feels like that became a trend of having a long song at the end of an album. There's a lot of bands that have that. I don't know if you guys started necessarily, but I think during that time there was other, I don't know, like Kent, the Swedish band Kent, they do a lot of, like almost every album finishes with a long song. I don't know if they started before you guys but it's like, it was a thing.
I think,
Yeah,
I guess they started with the 747 maybe.
Yeah.
I guess there's something about the simplicity of Comforting Sounds, right? It seems so straightforward. Anyone should have come up with that idea, but haven't. It was you guys who sort of ventured it. And we actually have a bunch of clips as well of other places where the song came to be used, I guess. Albert, do you want to...
It was actually used from some TV shows. I'm sure you know that it's been used in Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a funny show.
Whenever you look at that jackass, you think of me, okay? Miss you, buddy. I'll take care of you. Come on, he's yours. Here, come on, get on him. Just be careful about the back legs. He will kick you in the face. I'm serious. All right, guys, come on. Time to make tracks.
Time to go.
Katui's wife, grandma lady. I know that we just didn't communicate. I don't think we ever really got over that language barrier.
No, it's not your fault.
What the fuck? You speak English?
Also, I just found a random clip from a show on BBC called Countryfile, which is just like a nature show.
In medieval times, raptors like this peregrine falcon would have been a common sight in the British countryside.
The nobility captured birds like falcons and hawks and trained them to hunt game birds. But these days, getting a glimpse of one of these magnificent creatures in the wild is a rare treat. What precious few remain risk being targeted by those who see birds of prey as competition.
Yeah, and I think the Birdie made a version of it that was used in a Burberry campaign or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and also, speaking of that, commercials, that was a thing that I also brought up with Johan. I don't know if you remember that in Norway. There was, I think, some betting company wanted to use Comforting Sounds.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened there? I guess you told them, yeah, you don't want to, don't want to be associated with
this happened
gambling?
twice. Like this, I think they approached us and said like, can we use comforting sounds for this betting company or whatever it was, commercial? And we said no. And then they hired some guy to make something that sounded like it. Yeah. And then I think our management just said like, "Oh, we're gonna pursue this legally," and they did, and we were paid some kind of fee. Also, at one point in China, the Jeep, like Chrysler Jeep, they used the song in like a TV commercial, and we had not been asked, and we were not paid any money. And then we got a lawyer on it, and he said, like, you're lucky that Chrysler is an American company because we can sort of sue them from here. Because if it had just been some Chinese, you could just forget it. There's nothing. It's like there's no way you could get. So yeah, we put a stop to that, and also were paid sort of like a settlement for that.
Okay,
it's such a weird thing to just nobody will find out.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's sort of a compliment that it's such a good song that they like. We need this song in our commercial. We can't play any other song, right?
Yeah.
It's also like
it is very triumphant.
Yeah, but also like have the courtesy to pay for it at least. Like it's so strange.
I think so. Yeah.
Isn't there a saying as well? Was it in the sometime during the 2000s when the music business was sort of turning upside down for many reasons?
Yeah.
I remember there was a time when you were considered a sellout if you ever did this thing of adding your music to commercials. Yeah. And then it sort of flip-flopped by around the 2010s, I guess, where if you wanted to make it, you almost had to. And so it was kind of expected, like, of course you would go and add your song to this and suddenly have a name out there.
No, I think, especially for bands who, we were lucky enough to live in a time where you actually sold albums, and made money off royalties. And that was a big part of our income. And that kind of just went away eventually, like streaming, like Spotify are such assholes, right? They're have no conscience at all there. So, as it became a way for bands to get by, and we did a couple of things like projects with B&O. We also did something with Microsoft, and this was like not that many years ago, but still at that point, I felt very sort of unsure. Is this a cool thing to do? Like, how do I feel about it, really? But I think that nowadays you have to be really like successful to turn down such offers. So we've turned down things like we were offered to play a festival in Indonesia sponsored by a cigarette brand. Because we're not going to do that, but it's like, when you're struggling to pay the bills, it's hard to say no to that,
Yeah, it's good to have morals, but also like I have to survive somehow. It's a dilemma. I can understand it. Yeah.
Somehow in America it was different. Like it was just always sort of like, do McDonald's jingle, you're a star. I don't think people like Pharrell ever got any slack, or Timberlake for that, using that in the It's just a sign of success, really, isn't it? I don't know. What do you think, Anne? Is it like that in America? Or is it also frowned upon?
Yeah, everybody just is always integrating into advertising wherever they can. And I think the whole attitude has shifted because everything is basically monetized wherever you can. Branch out wherever you can. And people don't really look down on it anymore.
No. I think comforting sounds was used in a car commercial at some point, not the cheap one, but a different car. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, are people just gonna think about cars now when they hear the song? Like, it does kind of take something away from songs, I think, in a way,
Yeah, and it's like whenever I see a song in a commercial, I immediately have kind of a disdain towards that song.
Yeah,
I guess it's not because of the song, but it's just like I hate commercials in general. Whenever they come on TV, I just like put on mute and just I can't watch it.
Yeah,
it's just because I get just. But I understand it's good money and it's how it is, I guess.
Which song was it that we suspect had a sample from a car commercial, or am I remembering something here? Was it Wake for Your Life?
No.
Had a sample from a car commercial?
No.
Or I can't remember. I feel like we talked about this.
But
there's some part where we're like, definitely we've seen this. It might be me and Maria, like being like, this part just sounds very much like something from what feels like to us a car commercial. Like we can almost see the mountains, the car with no driver in it driving around.
I think that you on that episode, I remember you talked a little bit about the intro sounding a little bit like the intro to like a news show or something like that.
Yes,
which I'd never thought about that, but that's actually kind of true. They actually played that part on the Jimmy Kimmel show.
Yeah,
was it Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah, it was Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah,
I thought it was Colbert.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Kimmel. No, it was Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's
why I didn't find it.
Really find it.
And I was like,
yeah, that makes sense.
I was just kind of curious why are they playing that part? And
it was
very strange.
Yeah, I mean, like of any Mew song, like why that song?
Yeah. No, they just I spoke to the band eventually, and they was like, we just really like that song, you know. And
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Talking about comforting sounds and its impact, I feel like we should give a few shout outs to people who've covered the song in various fashions. Bertie has already been mentioned. Do you want to say a few more words about it? Did you have any involvement in that, or were you just informed after the fact?
No, she was recording with Rich Costi. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she did. I think she was in LA recording, and it was like a whole album of cover songs. I think she'd won some TV competition thing, X Factor or something. I don't know.
Okay.
And so I talked to my friend Alex Gilbert first. I think he was doing A&R on it. He also works with Biffy Clyro and a few other artists. And he's like, yeah, we're going to do a Comforting Sounds cover. I was like, great. That's really cool. And so that's how it came to be. I don't think that song was actually on, it was only on the sort of deluxe version of the album with some bonus tracks. I don't think it was on the album itself.
Okay. Yeah. I just a really good cover, I think.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful singing voice.
Yeah. And probably you know all the dirty shirts I've put on, planted and exhausted like anyone. Honestly, I tried to avoid it. Honestly, back when we were kids, we would always know when to stop. And now all the good kids are messing up. Nobody has gained or accomplished anything.
The next cover is a fairly recent one by another, I believe he's Danish or Norwegian, Gullimund.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that was for a radio show. Yeah, I don't think it hasn't been released as a recording, but they did a cover of it on a radio show. Sounded great. I really like his stuff.
It was really good. Yeah, it's pretty similar to your version, but it's like it has all the live horns and it's really cool.
Yeah, and he sings it quite. He uses different, vocal techniques, and that was cool to hear. I really can recommend his stuff. It's great.
Okay. Yeah.
He mostly sings in Danish, but it's great.
And probably you know all the dirty shows I've put on, blinded and exhausted like anyone. Honestly, I'm trying to avoid it. Honestly, back when we were kids, we would always know when to stop. And now all the good kids are messing up.
interesting to kind of see how, because I feel like unlike a lot of the other songs, we've obviously always sought out cover versions just for the fun of it, but this one seems to sort of have a life of its own in the way that it's almost an evergreen. I'm gonna put you up high here with like Islands in the Stream, or what's the other one, the Simon and Garfunkel songs. You know, there's some of those songs that are very prone to covers, and I feel like Comforting Sounds is one of them.
Yeah,
right.
There's also like we have this clip of a group called Iverson, Bang and Newman. They played live on X Factor in Denmark. They made a really short but sweet version of it. Yeah. I thought it was, I mean, I'm not a big fan of those shows myself, but I thought it was, but I sort of enjoyed it as a,
no, that's, I'm always honored that people would choose. I don't mind those shows. I just don't like the idea of music as a competition. I don't really understand the concept of competition, you know. And I
know.
And I think a lot of the people who go on there, you know, some of them are I haven't really watched much, but I've seen some where there were some people on there who were quite strange, and you know, maybe lived in a different reality. And I just think that, you know, people like that get immediately shut down on shows like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they actually have had something, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think Bob Dylan would make it on X Factor.
No way.
Probably not.
So it's I don't know. It's just kind of it's very limiting in a way. I don't like the concept of it, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do an X Factor, but I think on those Got Talent shows, like there's probably a show called Denmark's Got Talent, right?
Yeah.
Or Danish Danske Talent, I guess, or something like that. Where I think where it's all live in front of an audience. Yeah. You had like the Idol thing where it was just in front of those judges, but I feel like it just sets people up for ridicule from a whole audience. I think, and sometimes because you always show the good ones and the terrible ones, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know.
The sort of okay ones are not fun to watch, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it feels sometimes it feels a little bit like exploitation to me. You know, people are really sort of embarrassing themselves without realizing it. You know.
Yeah. I also found a version a couple of days ago. I kind of wanted to share the screen and show it to you guys. This is a Korean guy that did
this one's
a
really
live
fun.
stream during lockdown in Korea in 2020. He played his guitar for the ending of Comforting Sounds. I don't know if you've seen this, Jonas, but it's really cool. So
okay.
I'll try and share the screen here if I can. Yeah.
He's really soloing, huh?
Feels like it could be an ending to, I don't know, Baywatch or something.
It's a very 80s rock version.
Yeah.
Mess would like this. He would love it.
So good.
Oh, and the kind of guitar you can carry like a suitcase. It's really cool.
Look at that.
He's really into it.
It's cool. It's so good. I've watched it so many times.
Do you guys remember? Like it was funny. There was a band from the Philippines who they didn't make a copy of our song, but they completely copied the video. They made a complete like everything the same with the shirt opening and mechanics inside and all that.
Hail?
I don't remember.
What were they called?
Hail?
Hail.
I remember the first lyrics are there are 8 billion people in this world.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. It's like, that's not very creative. Just take someone's video and make the exact same video. It's such a weird thing to do. Yeah. No, it's just funny. I remember like there were some comments on our videos like, you stole this from Hail. It's like, no, look at the dates. Look at this, like a few years before. Yeah.
I completely forgot about this.
It's called The Ballad of.
There are 8 billion people in this world. 8 billion lives are changing. Never felt so alone. Would you consider?
We should talk about the making of the music video.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a music video with Sam Brown.
Yeah, Sam Brown, who also did the Zookeeper's Boy one. He did a bunch. He was like he did a lot of videos with bands in big warehouses, kind of thing. You know.
Right. Yeah.
I remember that I was, especially at that point, I was really against performance videos. I just thought it was boring to see a band play. You know, like I wanted it to be more. So I said, like, can we do something? And I, you know, I think we played him the visuals for the shows, and it's like, oh, we can maybe incorporate that. And there's the Zoe trope in the video where you see some of the visuals like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think actually we the band came up with the concept for it. You know, with the
That's cool.
Yeah, with this words, the smoke becoming the words, and
yeah.
Do you remember how that was achieved? Is that all in post, or did you? Have some
that was all in post. I remember that they had rented this incredible, huge round light thing from above that gave it a very sort of special light look, and then it was just us. Lots of dollies, like the tracks for the camera, and just playing in a circle, and that was it. And they kept telling me, like, go be more, just like perform, be a rock guy. I was like, oh, okay. But that was it.
Yeah.
And I guess the plan was always to cover the radio edit.
Yes. Yeah. Such a weird thing. Oh yeah, I remember it was the single of the week in the NME.
Oh,
and
cool.
There was a picture of us looking really sad, and it said, "Cheer up, boys! You're single of the week." Yeah. Back then, that had a lot of that meant a lot, you know, to be NME single of the week. So that was quite good for us. Yeah,
that's cool.
But yeah, I wish they were able to. I wish there was a video for the whole song instead of just a radio version. I guess, but I guess that's how the industry works. I guess it's just we can't have an 8-minute long song. It's too much to listen to. Like, but what if it's good?
Video edits are always strange, right? Yeah, but
and it's also such a hard song to edit down. I feel like
sure,
it's very
that's
tricky.
True.
But
I think it was the first version I heard the radio edit.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't even remember how it goes. Really, how long is it? Like 4 minutes?
Like
it doesn't have the last verse of it.
Yeah, the last verse is completely missing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's just nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, in terms of like the song being edited down in that sense, do you have a favorite segment yourself of the songs? Like, especially when playing it live, is there a particular part you look forward to?
I really love the ending of it. Obviously, the crescendo and all that. I guess maybe the first verse really might be my favorite part.
Yeah,
just with the vocals coming in. It's very, very, very naked, very, very unnerving for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it must be so hard to sing that song live and just come in and have that vulnerability in your voice, sing it, and if you screw it up, it's very clear. Like the people,
Yes.
so it must be like kind of nerve wracking. Like, make sure that I hit it right.
It definitely can be. Like sometimes you're just in the feeling of it and you don't worry too much. But sometimes you're like, oh no, I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could never ever do it in a million years.
No way.
No. Nope. Need a lot of instrumentation to like
and beer.
Cover up. Yeah. And beer.
Liquid courage, yes.
Oh yeah.
And Mess even does this thing where he plays a little bit more quiet when I come in, so you can really hear, like it's very exposed. So yeah.
It's time for Curious Analysis.
So there's a few different versions of Comforting Sounds. We have the first version called Comforting Sounds Do I Look Puerto Rican? It's very much a demo, but you can see the bones of the song very clearly. The structure and the chords are very much there, as well as the journey that we all know Comforting Sounds takes you on. It has its charm due to how it's recorded, and we have some interesting clips of Johan talking about its creation. I think it's the fact he played Mellotron on it is a really interesting tidbit, and I love the way that bit sounds. It's also got some highly amusing filler lyrics, which relate to this version's namesake. Then we have the Half the World Is Watching Me version, which feels like a step up. It's Comforting Sounds As You Know It, and it has a very neat tap dancing section towards the final part of the song. It's an interesting version to come back to, but it almost feels a little restrained in comparison to what comes next, which is the French's version that we all know and love, and is the definitive to many. It feels like it has the production the song has always longed for. It feels huge. Those two chord movements at the end that are so drilled into our minds really get the attention they deserve, and it's absolutely epic in scale. It's no surprise it's the closer of so many shows, and it's absolutely no surprise that it's one of the most beloved Mew songs. We still have one more recorded version to talk about though, and that's the release of the performance with the Copenhagen Philharmonic. That version is very interesting. It's not as loud, but it really touches upon the delicate sensibilities of the song. The band is very much supporting the orchestra in this version, and it's really beautiful. I especially love Jonas' soaring vocals at the end as the music swells. But at the last few shows that we've seen, they performed with the Danish Chamber Orchestra. And I would say it's probably my favourite rendition of Comforting Sounds I've heard. It's the band playing as they would, accompanied by the orchestra. I love how huge it sounded. And some of the extra inflections of the orchestra added in the finale had me in absolute awe. I genuinely couldn't believe I was hearing an even more beautiful version of this song that I and so many others hold dear.
Should we talk a little bit about the lyrics with Jonas here, or do we do that later on?
Yeah.
We touched a bit upon it, didn't we, with the...
Yeah, but I think I can...
nonsensical lyrics.
I can say a few things about it, because obviously when we were writing it, some of the I don't feel alright part came quite quickly. And I mean, it's a I think it's pretty clear what the song is about. It's about kind of looking back at when you were more of an idealist and you sort of had really high hopes and then you have a little bit of a loss of innocence as you grow older, and you realize that the world is maybe not all that great as you thought it would be. So there's a sort of hopelessness in it, but then I think the outro is kind of like taking back the dream, sort of like to sort of say we can make it, in spite of everything, So that's I think it's very universal, about loneliness and disappointment and disillusionment, I should say. That's what it's about for me. And I usually don't talk about the subject matter that much, but I think this one is pretty clear. It's like it's one of the few ones we have where it's like you can sort of tell what it's about.
Yeah, it's one of the few songs that I'm able to decipher somehow. It's like, but I just find it interesting. The last line is so beautiful in like its hopelessness. It's like nobody has gained or accomplished anything. That's the last line.
Yeah, that is very hopeless. Yeah,
it is hopeless, but also like comforting. Like
you're not in it alone. Like everybody's feeling that.
Yeah. So it's beautiful.
Well, I think that's always been a thing for me with melancholy music. Is it cheers me up because it's like you feel connected to other people. I'm not alone in this, right? So that's precisely it. Yeah. Whereas you listen to some happy dance song as you're going through a hard time, it's like everyone else is having a great time except for me, right?
Yep.
That's I'm wrong. I'm weird or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
I guess when you're dancing to some hefty dance song, and it's if it's to hide away whatever loneliness you might be feeling, it's faking it, right?
Yeah.
Where here it's more of a sometimes life sucks, and
you're just facing it head on.
You just have to get through it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Not hiding behind it.
I've always kind of seen it as the introvert's anthem, or
I wrote that down. That was like,
did you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize. No. I totally didn't know.
Well, great minds think alike.
That's how this podcast came to be, I think.
One mind. I guess maybe it's an obvious statement to call it the anthem of the introverted, but
like the extroverts in the world think that solitude is like a prison sentence rather than something to allow introspection and just connecting with oneself, where instead of just like finding that in other people, find it in yourself.
I can say, like, I remember playing, I think it was kites though. I don't know, it was some party or some gathering or some, was it at a student cafe or something? And I put on, I believe it was kites. And like people coming up to me like, why are you playing this sad music? And I hadn't computed with me that was sad music. For me, that was rock and roll. And I just indulged a bit. And I guess that's sort of the thing. Some of us, we would just jive better with these sad tunes.
Yeah. I remember watching, I think it was Coldplay. They played Saturday Night Live. I was in America at the time. And I think Chris Rock was the host, and he introduced him. And then after they finished, he's like, wow, I want to kill myself now. It's like, it's just like, he just didn't get, that it was, he was like, why? Okay. Do you guys really feel this way?
Yeah.
But yeah. But it's, sometimes I like to put on the B-52s, and that's not sad music.
Yeah.
But there's a kind of like an artful mystery to it that can be a little melancholy, though. Even they can.
Yeah, a lot of also happy pop songs have sad lyrics, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So, definitely.
I think the best songs in general are the sad songs, but yeah.
Well, that's how Tears for Fears wrote their music. They have these horrible lyrics, very, very sad, depressing lyrics, but like really, really upscale, poppy sort of sound.
Yeah, I love Tears of His. Did you just watch this new thing on them?
No.
No, they were very inspired by this psychologist. I think Austrian psychologist. Like a lot of the lyrics are based on his books and stuff. Yeah.
I heard that.
I didn't
amazing.
Know that. Yeah.
Their last album is really good.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I saw them play at Hyde Park once.
Oh,
nice.
When a band comes back after many years and make an album that good, it's really impressive, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't happen that often.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
I was really impressed by it. I had kind of like, I didn't have super high expectations for it, but when I listened, I was like, oh, they still got it. Still good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only thing I can for me, ABBA did a great comeback.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that comeback album, like 40 years later. And I know Tero is a big fan as well.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if that's your jam, Jonas, but I was just like so surprised how good the songs were. Okay.
Yeah.
Great,
Dancing Queen is a really sad song to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is. The whole both the Volevo album and The Visitors, and some great depressing songs. Love it.
Yeah.
I guess we're on the question of, so what's next after Comforting Sounds, or in the greater scheme of things, after Mew?
Right.
So
is that
we did touch upon it, but
we did touch upon it a bit. Yeah, I'm working on some animation, like a bigger project of mine, which I can't really say too much about yet. And then
Well, maybe you can say something more general. Is that the way you want to go? Is it it is just focusing on these personal projects and whatever comes in, do some freelance? Or
I mean,
are we seeing more tackies?
That could also be. I mean, I've working mainly on this animation thing and the soundtrack for upcoming movie right now. And I'm working on some new Mew visuals for the shows, and also upgrading some of the older ones a little bit. So yeah, that's mostly what I'm doing right now. Then I have some musical projects. One of which I've been working on for like 8 years. This takes forever, which is at some point it's going to be finished. Hopefully not too distant future.
Is that a solo project or what is it?
It's with a friend of mine.
Cool.
But I don't know what it's going to be called yet. But it's very different thing.
Is it like electronic music or is it?
It's electronic and with strings. Yeah.
Okay. Are you playing the strings? I know you tried to learn playing different string instruments, right?
Yeah, I'm playing some cello on it. I play a lot of when I do scores. I play strings. I could never sit and play a sonata for you, but when I have forever many takes I need and I can do a lot of editing, I can sort of get by and make it sound really nice, I think. So.
Right. Yeah.
So stuff like that, and then I really like doing scores. So hopefully I'll get some more score work in the future.
But you're not going to stop singing, right?
No, I'm not going to stop. No, definitely.
Good.
But I don't really have any plans to make like a solo album or anything like that.
Okay. Right.
It could happen, but it's not something I'm considering right now.
Scoring must be a different challenge altogether, really.
Scoring is can be really. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it can be really rewarding, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just watched a documentary about John Williams. Have you seen that?
Yeah. What an amazing,
amazing
career.
Oh yeah, so amazing, and but it feels too short because his body of work is so massive.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
But it's just like when I saw him in studio scoring all these movies. How do you pull it off to, like, you actually watch the movie and you make music that fits what you watch on screen, right?
Yeah. I mean, he does that immensely. Like, with the snake in Indiana Jones, like lots of musical cues. You know, I guess people don't do that so much anymore. Like, and it's quite old fashioned.
Right.
Like, that's also what Spielberg liked, right? He's like, oh, we gotta get back to the orchestra stuff, you know, and that, and it really works. I mean, my favorite is E.T. That's my favorite.
What was the process of scoring for you like then? Was it a visual thing, or like did you have much reference material while you were scoring?
On which project? On some of the TV stuff I did?
Yeah.
A Scandinavian Star or present.
Yeah. Well, Scandinavian Star was a bit tricky because they'd already had a couple of composers working on it, and it didn't really work out. So I came in a little bit late in the process. Didn't have that much time to do it, and they had one dogma, which is like, you can't use piano because all the documentary stuff uses a lot of piano. So I thought, oh, that's cool, I like that. And so it ended up being mostly my modular synths and strings. So, and I did work a little bit with a quartet, but it was kind of hard to implement those recordings. So I ended up doing most of the strings myself. And at that point, I hadn't played strings that much. So it was a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they give you instructions for, like, you make this for this part, or did you just like watch the thing and get inspired by?
It's very different. Like one of the dangers when you get into the process quite late is that they've been editing already to all kinds of music.
Yeah.
Usually Philip Glass and Hans Zimmer as like, and then they kind of fall in love with how that works in the scene, and then you sort of have to match that, and that's really difficult. Like sometimes I've been in a process where they had a soundtrack for something, but they didn't really like it. But at the same time, they listened to it for a year and a half and watched as they were editing. So every time I came with something new, it's like, yeah, I don't know if it works. And it's like, yeah, but it's because you're so used to this other music that you don't like, you know. So psychologically, it can be very difficult. And I totally understand why. I'm exactly the same. Like in Mew, when we've been working on a song for a while, then someone comes like, oh, I think I'm going to play this instead. And you go like, oh no, what? I'm not familiar with that. That's like, oh, you're going to ruin it. Yeah, you know, so it's a very human thing, you know. I always try to sort of bombard them with music in the beginning of a process so that they have some of my music to edit to. So I don't have to like match Philip Glass and Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, that's a task. But yeah.
I was just about to say, I remember seeing a video clip of, I believe it was Hollywood directors. They had one of these shows where they sat down and talked about each other's work. And they talked about specifically scoring and how they sort of hated this trend that was really appearing about exactly this issue, right? That directors would take in these popular tunes and edit to them and create a story and then go to the... it was probably the composers that were sitting in a round table when I think about it, right? And then they'd have to go in and match it. And that's also... And then there was a lot of examples of like times when music sounds exactly the same in films because they wanted the same tension or the same whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I definitely think it's a problem that they're all using sort of the same composers a lot, you know, like a lot of studios just go, oh, it's safe to go with Hans Zimmer, right? Then we know it's going to be good. It's like, you know, he's amazing, but he also has a few tricks that he uses a lot, like in every film. But,
yeah.
So, I'm sorry to say it, guys, but it's kind of the end of it.
Right.
We kind of just wrote, how do we end the podcast? Not just the episode, how do we end the podcast?
Well, it's good to have Jonas here for the last few moments of the podcast, at least. That's it helps.
I guess we made it in that sense, yeah.
Yeah. I also just noticed that in 2 days, it's exactly 6 years since you joined us for the first time. 6 years already. It's crazy how time flies, but yeah.
It really does, yeah.
So we've been doing this for a while, and it's your third time coming on, and we really appreciate taking your time to talk to us and sharing all this all through the years of the podcast. You've been really helpful, sending us the mixtape that you made and everything. Yeah, it's been really helpful and made the podcast so much better with your input so
thank you guys so much for doing it, and it's amazing how much stuff you've covered over the years, and I really appreciate that.
I don't think I was expecting us to cover it all, to be honest.
No, I did.
I remember you guys wanting to do this, wanting to cover every song and just going for it every week. Yeah. And I remember being very adamant, like, no. We're doing 10.
Yeah.
No more, no less. If we then, it turns out to be something, we don't have to have expectations till the 10th episode. It could turn out to be an absolute dud that no one listened to. But at least we tried. And if not, we'll try and do another 10. And that's kind of been how we worked. And I guess that's how industry works generally, right?
Yeah. It turned out to be the way to go for us, because it is very time consuming to just to find a time for us all to meet, because it's difficult with time differences and everything. But so that's the way it's been taking 6+ years for us to get through all these songs. I was very, ambitious in the beginning, saying, we can just do this every week. It's going to be just a lot of fun. No, not that time consuming, right? Because it's going to be fun. Yay. You're going to finish the whole thing in a year, right? No, it wasn't that easy, but it's,
Well, how many episodes are you up to? It's like in the 60s, something like that?
76. This is,
wow.
I think 76 is the number, something like that.
75.
Yeah, we didn't name we didn't number the interviews, right? Like we didn't put an official number. Michael's.
That's true.
Yeah,
Alex's.
So it's probably over 80 in total. Yeah, with all the bonus stuff.
Yeah. I really have enjoyed the ones with friends of mine joining, like Michael Beinhorn and Alex Mayolo.
Oh, yeah.
And especially the one with the Mess and Nick. I really liked that one.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, we have been really lucky with having all the great guests we have had on, and also really great friends coming on, sharing their stories, and I really appreciate everyone that's been involved in this podcast for all those years, and a lot of them have been repeat guests, and it's been
different
really
artwork and everything as well, like from other people. It's been great.
People, making artwork for our episodes, and obviously we don't want to forget Heather, who was a big part of the podcast for the first half of the run, I guess, before Kier took over, when she just got too busy unfortunately to be a part of it. But Kier stepped in and did an amazing job. So
job.
We really appreciate that, Kier, and so like this, for me at least, there was like a dream I had many years before we started this, to make a podcast about Mew, because I just needed an outlet to share my feelings towards the band, and I just need, like, how do I do this? Do I just make it on my own? No, I can't do that. No one's going to listen. And I had this thought, MewX is a thing. I can get in touch with them. So I messaged Ann, I guess it was first, and she got me involved with the tarot as well, and then Thomas also shared the same idea, so we just got together and
I've reached out to Anne, and the first thing she says, "Oh, that's so funny. Another guy just sent me the same text." What?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The weirdest thing was then I lived in Glasgow between 13 and I came back in January of 17, right? And you had the Philharmonic show in February. And moving country was a bit of an ordeal and cost a lot of money, so I didn't have a lot. I wasn't planning on going. And then suddenly there's a guy who offers up a ticket. And it's also on the same exact date that Maria, my missus, was about to land. She landed the same night in the airport. So I had to go straight from the show to the airport to pick her up.
Yes, you missed the last show.
Yeah. The guy who offered the ticket was Oddvar.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like we have a chat. I think I buy you a beer, and that sort of became a running joke between us that you always owe me a beer because you're never in Denmark, obviously, and I don't really drop by Norway. And it was just funny to see that like it was you who had contacted Anne before me, so you obviously must have mentioned the idea, and it's just sort of brewed. And at some point, it just fuck it, we'll just try and write Anne from MewX and see what happens. And,
but Taro was never on the show, right? Taro was here. He was
a guest
guy. He was a guest once.
He doesn't like to be on the podcast. Like, I was just planning on being a facilitator. I was like going to get you guys together, get you all started, and kind of like help you, have lanes of conversation between people. And then I got roped into actually having my voice on it. And as an introverted, shy person, I was like way against the idea. I was like, no, this is not for me. But I'm glad I stuck it out because it was fun. It get my brain working in ways that it wouldn't have been working otherwise. All this analysis and trying to decode what Jonas is trying to say in these lyrics. I'm like, this is a task that is going to be monumental for anybody, but I'll give it a go. And it actually ended up helping me be comfortable, like even in my own job now, and talking to people on Zoom and, just getting out of my kind of shell in a way, and just getting my comfort level up with presenting in front of people. So it's been a blessing in my life too.
That's great.
Yeah, and I should say about your analysis of the lyrics has obviously helped the podcast become so much better than it would have been without it, because it would have definitely missed like something very important. I think it's just a big part of like trying to figure out or try to learn more about the songs. And it's for me, because I'm not that, I know the lyrics, but I don't usually go that deep into them and try and figure them out. But that's also helped my relationship with the songs and elevated it to a different level of me understanding it. So I really appreciate that, Anne.
I want to shout out Heather too. She wasn't part of this process, but we felt like we wanted a guest, and we had already recorded MRI, the first episode, and here we were going into introducing Palace players, and we wanted someone who knew a little bit about music to come in. And then lo and behold, this girl Heather just posts a video of her covering a song, I don't remember which one, on piano, and everyone loving it on Facebook. And Anne was like, I know her, I'll just reach out. Do you want to be on the podcast? And she's like, what, like now? Yeah, why not? And she was in, and she pretty much was with us for all that time since. So just to say, like, she got too busy. Like, it was never really in her plans, I think, to be roped into it. But she stuck around for a good long while. And
she did.
Yeah. So thanks, Heather.
Yeah. Thanks.
And I don't know, Jonas. One thing I've taken away from this show is meeting you for the first time in person, and you mentioning like, "Oh, it's so weird to meet you." The voice I've heard in my, and I was like, "That is." I imagine you've probably had that experience a lot. I have not, and it's coming from the lead singer of the band my podcast is about, right? So that was a bit of a special. I'll take that one with me. Like, that was a funny moment. And
definitely.
I mean, I hope we get to do that again at some point in the near future. But so thank you for that. I noticed someone did a terrible copy paste job, because it says, "Thanks for listening. See you back next Monday."
That was probably me. Yeah.
So I guess I'll just say thank you for listening in general and coming with us on this long journey, or just sticking it out. I don't know. Thanks for everything. And I don't know if there's a point in subscribing to our feed anymore, but maybe we'll be back. Maybe there'll be new music, and
it's quite possible.
Maybe we'll revisit some songs. Who knows? Anything can happen.
If we get bored, we'll maybe just let's meet up and make a podcast again. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be about cars or something. I don't know. We'll
You guys really into cars? Yeah?
No.
Not at all.
But it could be. We could try and get into it.
I finally got my driver's license 2 years ago, and
okay.
I drove with my friend David, who's Italian, in Portugal. And he said, like, how the fuck did you get a driver's license? And then, so then I haven't really driven since. So yeah, but I do have one now. That's like, I was always been so scared of driving, and I'm so scared of hitting someone, So. But,
it's miserable. I've had one since I was 16, but I hardly ever drive. I hate it.
Yeah, I'm a social worker, so I have to drive everywhere constantly.
Yeah, I love
but
driving.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's what I zone out, is when I drive and listen to music, and just like that's my zone. I love it, taking long drives.
I remember driving to Birmingham once from Wales when I was visiting family. Driving back home, there was a thunderstorm, heavy rain. I was just playing Apocalypso, and it was rad.
Oh yeah.
No cars on the road.
All right, yeah. Kites is the best road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get my license one day. No, everyone seems to be bothering me with it. No, I haven't gotten there yet.
Well, I mean, a lot of my friends got driver's license quite late because they live in Copenhagen. They don't really need a car, So
there's trains everywhere.
Yeah.
You've obviously announced a few farewell shows, some in Denmark and in Finland, and
and there may be more as well.
Okay, great.
But it's not going to be a bunch though. But there's some talk.
Are there any news about that imminent? Because it's going to come up soon, right? So
I all I know is that they're talking about stuff. I don't know if it's actually.
Okay.
I don't know if but it's not necessarily the last show, the one in June. Okay. All I've said is like this is the last year that I'll be.
Yeah.
Playing. So potentially there could be.
So New Year's Eve 2025.
I think you wrote you would put out a grand statement later on.
Yeah, and I wanted to do that, but. Yeah, I'm also. I think I'm a little bit. I'm waiting to see what I told Silas and Johan, you have all of my blessing to continue the project, but I'm also waiting to see what they're gonna do, and I think they need also to make a statement at some point.
So maybe of this year, I guess you might.
I'm kind of putting it off until they sort of know what they want, and
that makes sense.
So I kind of regret writing that because I guess some people are waiting to hear more about it, but there really isn't that much more to say at this point,
No, well, that's true.
Yeah. We're all in good health. I think there's some people who are worried if it's like a health thing.
Okay.
But
okay, yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That was the MewX podcast. I hope to see you guys at the live shows coming up this year. And if this is 2026 and you're way past it and why are we still here? Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for everything.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a pleasure. And thanks for all the years of the music.
Yes, thank you for giving this soundtrack to our lives.
Yeah,
thank you. Thanks for listening.